Long ago, in the beautiful city of Lisbon, a boy named Fernando was born in the year 1195. He lived with his loving parents who taught him to pray, help the poor, and trust God. Unlike many children his age, Fernando loved spending time in church. He listened carefully to Bible stories and dreamed of dedicating his life to God. As he grew older, his faith became stronger. One day, Fernando made an important decision. "I want to serve God for the rest of my life," he said. So he joined a religious community where he studied the Bible, theology, and the teachings of the church. He was intelligent, hardworking, and deeply devoted to prayer. Years later, a group of Franciscan missionaries who had been killed for their faith were brought back from Morocco. Their courage touched Fernando's heart. He thought, "These men gave everything for God. I want to do the same." Soon, Fernando joined the Order of Friars Minor, also known as the Franciscans. When he joined, he changed his name to Anthony. Anthony dreamed of traveling to Morocco to preach about God. He eagerly set sail, hoping to spread the gospel. But God had a different plan. Shortly after arriving in Morocco, Anthony became seriously ill. His health grew worse each day, and he was forced to return home. As his ship sailed back, a powerful storm struck the sea. Huge waves tossed the vessel in every direction. The frightened sailors struggled to stay afloat. When the storm finally ended, the ship had drifted far off course and landed in Italy. Anthony accepted this unexpected journey as God's will. In Italy, he lived a simple and humble life. He worked in kitchens, cleaned buildings, and helped with daily tasks. Most people did not know how educated and gifted he was. Then one day, everything changed. A gathering of priests and monks was taking place. A scheduled speaker failed to arrive, and nobody knew who should give the sermon. Someone suggested Anthony. At first, he hesitated, but when he began speaking, everyone was amazed. His words were clear, powerful, and full of wisdom. He explained the scriptures in a way that touched people's hearts. The audience sat in complete silence, listening to every word. After that day, Anthony became known as one of the greatest preachers of his time. He traveled from town to town, teaching people about faith, kindness, and God's love. Crowds gathered wherever he went. He encouraged people to forgive one another, care for the poor, and live honest lives. One famous story tells of a town where people refused to listen to him. Disappointed but determined, Anthony walked to the seashore. Facing the water, he began preaching. "If people will not listen," he said, "perhaps God's creatures will." According to tradition, hundreds of fish gathered near the shore and appeared to listen attentively. When the townspeople saw this remarkable sight, they were astonished. Many returned to hear Anthony's message and changed their hearts. Anthony was especially known for helping the poor. Whenever he met hungry families, he shared what little food he had. He comforted the sick, encouraged the lonely, and defended those who were treated unfairly. People admired his compassion. Many miracles were later associated with him. Stories spread of prayers being answered through his intercession. Over time, he became known as the patron saint people pray to when something has been lost. Even with all the praise he received, Anthony remained humble. Whenever people thanked him for a miracle, he would say, "Give thanks to God, for all good things come from him." As the years passed, Anthony worked tirelessly. Constant travel and preaching weakened his health. By 1231, he became seriously ill. Knowing that his earthly journey was nearing its end, Anthony spent his final days in prayer. He remained peaceful and hopeful. On June 13, 1231, at only 36 years old, Anthony died near Padua. Although his life was short, his impact was enormous. People everywhere remembered his kindness, wisdom, and faith. The bells of Padua rang softly across the city. But on that day, the people were not celebrating. Their hearts were filled with sadness. St. Anthony, the beloved preacher who had touched countless lives with his kindness and faith, had passed away on June 13, 1231. As the news spread from village to village, people wept openly. "We have lost a holy man," said an elderly woman through tears. He helped the poor, comforted the suffering, and taught us about God's love, said another. Thousands gathered to pay their final respects. Although Anthony had died, the love and respect people had for him continued to grow. After his burial, something remarkable began to happen. People traveled to his tomb to pray. They asked for his intercession and sought comfort in their troubles. Soon, stories of extraordinary events began to spread throughout the region. A sick woman who had suffered for many years visited Anthony's tomb and prayed with great faith. "Saint Anthony, please pray for me before God," she whispered. Not long afterward, she claimed to have been healed. Others reported receiving blessings, finding lost belongings, and experiencing peace during difficult times. News of these events traveled quickly across Italy. Before long, the reports reached the ears of Pope Gregory the Ninth, the head of the church. The Pope had known Anthony personally. He admired his wisdom, humility, and dedication to serving God. When he heard about the many testimonies, he decided that the matter should be carefully investigated. "Let us discover the truth," the Pope said. "If these reports are genuine, the Church must recognize God's work through his faithful servant." Church officials were sent to gather evidence. They traveled through towns and villages, speaking with priests, citizens, and people who had known Anthony. Everywhere they went, they heard similar stories. He always cared for the poor. He spoke with great love and wisdom. He lived a life of holiness. Witnesses described his compassion, his powerful preaching, and the many blessings associated with his prayers. For months, the investigators carefully examined every testimony and report. Finally, they returned to Rome with their findings. "Holy Father," they reported, "Anthony truly lived a life of exceptional holiness. The evidence confirms his virtue and the many blessings attributed to his intercession." Pope Gregory the Ninth was deeply moved by what he heard. Soon, a special ceremony was arranged in the city of Spoleto, Italy. On May 30th, 1232, bishops, priests, and faithful people gathered for this historic occasion. The church was filled with anticipation as everyone waited for the Pope's announcement. When the moment arrived, Pope Gregory the Ninth stood before the crowd. A great silence filled the church. Then he proclaimed, "Anthony lived faithfully in the service of God. Therefore, we declare him a saint of the Holy Church." For a moment, the crowd stood in awe. Then joyful cheers filled the air. The church bells rang loudly. People smiled, prayed, and thanked God. Only 1 year after his death, Anthony had been officially declared a saint, one of the fastest canonizations in the history of the Church. Today, centuries later, millions of people around the world continue to honor St. Anthony, remembering his faith, kindness, and unwavering devotion to God. Moral of the story: a life lived with faith, humility, and love for others leaves a legacy that continues to inspire generations.